Well, I happened to be on duty that day at the Haines City station, Engine 33 back then. I know the numbers have changed, but Engine 33. I was on duty with my crew and a medic crew. Several of us were in the office, and it was the EMT. Her name's Roxanne Bradbury. She's retired as well. She kind of said, "Hey, the World Trade Center's on fire," because we usually had, you know, the TV on a news channel in the mornings and stuff like that. So we all kind of went in there to see what was going on, and that's about the time the second plane hit. And I just remember a feeling of helplessness for the people involved in that. And I remember just, like everybody else in the U.S., not knowing what's going on, you know. And then, sure, as everything unfolded, we found out it was an attack against us and all that. And so that's what I remember from that day. When I got off duty the next morning, I went home and I literally watched the news for 2 days and just watched it all unfold in disbelief. Couldn't believe it was going on.
That morning I had just got off duty from a 24-hour shift at 8 o'clock, had just got home in Auburndale, and had just for some reason turned on the TV. And about 9 o'clock, as we all know, just all of a sudden I heard the alert come on the television, and I was even still in uniform, and just began to watch in horror what was happening. And obviously it took the second plane coming in before you realized this was on purpose. And I immediately began to think of all the firefighters and what they were going through responding. And I've got so much respect for big city firefighters and what they go through with high rises. And that was just the ultimate sacrifice there.
September 11th, 2001, I was in high school. Literally, I just went to band class, and this was already on the channel. So half of my class was coming in, and our teacher had it up on the TV screen, and that's what we watched for pretty much for the rest of the whole school day, because people had family there, teachers, and so that's what we watched. And I actually saw through TV that the second plane that came and hit the second building, and it was just in disbelief of what was going on at the moment. Like, this is reality. This is actually happening to people.
I was homeschooled when I was little, and so I was home, me and my brother and my mom. I remember we were sitting at the dining room table doing schoolwork, got a phone call from my dad that said, "Hey, you guys need to go turn on the TV." And so we went out to the living room, sat down on the couch, as me and the three of us sitting there on the couch watching the madness kind of unfold. So I was only in 4th grade at that point, so I didn't really fully understand what was going. I remember being upset, but it was it's definitely something that as you get older, especially as young as I was, that I understood more.
Like most in fire rescue and EMS back then, I was an EMT and had to work a secondary job. So I was working the hospital as my secondary job. It was my very first day off of the ambulance. And I was doing orientation at Lake Wells Hospital, me and Mike Yates, and doing patient care and things of that nature, learning the job there. And one of the technicians, respiratory techs, come in and said, "Hey, did you hear planes just went into the World Trade Center?" I'm like, "You're messing with us, you know." So he's like, "No, come on down." So we went down to the break room and looked at the TV and watched it for just a minute, and then the rest of the day we were just entranced, watching every minute that we could to see what was happening, how things were transpiring.
So September 11th, 2001, I was in high school still. I was in 10th grade. I remember distinctly I was in math class, and I remember they wheeled in a TV, because back then they didn't have TVs posted in every room. And they wheeled a TV in, which I knew it was a big deal, and they turned it on, and we all sat and watched in horror as the planes hit the buildings and as the buildings fell.
I remember it very vividly. I was a driver engineer for Polk County Fire Rescue. I remember it so much that my daughter was about a month old I had just gotten off duty, went home, and I remember my wife going to work. I took my daughter, put her in my lap, was sitting in the recliner, rocking her. I remember my dad calling me and was giving me this whole rundown about a terrorist attack. And at the time I thought, my dad's kind of crazy, he's very kind of out there with, his thoughts and feelings of what's going on sometimes, So I was like, well, I'll pop on the news and turn it on. And I saw it and I was like, okay, one of the World Trade Center towers was on fire. All right, what happened? I don't think anybody knows what's going on yet. And then while I was sitting there, I saw the second plane hit the tower. And that was like an extremely memorable moment for me, thinking what in the world is going on. And I remember looking down at my daughter and thinking, what is your life going to be like from here on out now that this has happened?
A few days after 9/11, I was off duty and in my yard, and one of my neighbors came jogging by and turned around and jogged back, just to come into the yard to tell me, hey, I want to hug your neck. I know what you've done all the years as a firefighter, but I just never realized till 9/11, what you guys you risk and the potential for injury and things like that. And it just kept on from there. And even today, I always think that the phrase, thank you for your service, I never really heard that a lot prior to 9/11, but just almost immediately. Whether you were in uniform or out, if people knew you were a firefighter or law enforcement or military, they begin to say that to you. And even today, as a retired firefighter, I still get the same compliment. And that's never stopped, and I hope it doesn't.
And after that day, I remember how people looked at you and represented you, or looked at you as if you represented them in that field as well. The pride, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, how it kind of came together, and thinking about those guys doing their job and the fact that they had a job to do, and that's what they went and they did. And it wasn't a matter of, I'm not going to do that job, I might die or something bad might happen. It's just going to work and doing your job. And for those guys to go to work and do that, and for bad things to happen, I think it just brought reality to a lot of people as to what our jobs are and what we do. And our mentality is it's a job, and we go to work every day and do whatever it takes.
That spurred me to want to continue my career, further advancing it, like going through paramedic school and things of that nature, because I wanted to be able to do more. Even though those were tragic events, just knowing that they were my brothers and sisters up there doing exactly what I was doing, I felt that I could respect them and honor them more just by furthering and advancing my career.
Another thing it did to the fire service is it renewed an interest for people to have a career in that. At the time, I was an instructor at Ridge Fire Academy, and several students, one of my ice-breaking questions with the students is, what got you in the fire service? And I noticed after September 11th, there was several, if not half the class said, hey, I saw what happened on 9/11 and I wanted to, it made me want to be a firefighter.
Seeing the bravery of the men and women, not only in the fire service, but also in law enforcement, and there were even civilians that were running back and forth. That day, it really opened my eyes, and it changed how I viewed the fire service as a whole. The bravery, and just, I saw the way the public kind of came around the fire service. We lost 343 men and women that day that bravely went up into that tower. And it was then I knew I wanted to be a fireman.
I did not even imagine years later that this is what I would be doing. The same people that went into a collapsing building to help save someone. I didn't imagine me actually being in that same career field. I was only in 11th grade, so I was thinking of career-wise, but it really wasn't in that direction. I knew I wanted to help people, but I really wasn't sure as of how yet. And so it's amazing to see that I'm actually kind of full circle back in the same place to be able to help those in need that may be not feeling well that day, or something. People's worst day is the day that I actually come in and help.
It wasn't specifically 9/11, but I think that was a good example. It portrayed that sometimes people need someone to come in who knows how to help, because your average person isn't expected to know what to do in an emergency. They're not expected to know what to do when everything's going wrong. And I think that I find a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment in being that person who can come in, and when everything else is kind of getting messy and no one knows how to handle it, being the person that can handle it. And I think that that's what the first responders at 9/11 exemplified, was even if they didn't know exactly how to handle the situation they were walking into, they walked into it and they decided to be the person to step up and try and help, even if they didn't know everything that they were walking into.
I was also just proud to be part of the organization. The Polk County Fire Department is one of the best I know it is in the state, possibly country. And our hazmat team at the time had to rise to the occasion. I remember not only did the country lose its innocence on September 11th, but so did fire departments.
You know, we're here as a service for the community. It's what we love to do. It's not about the money. We all have to work and earn a paycheck, but it's about what we do for the community, and that sense of brotherhood, that sense of everybody running in to take care of each other. That's what it's about, and I want people to continue to remember that.
So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, that is something that, it's history. You can't forget history. It's something that could happen again tomorrow. You just can't put that away. You've got to take that history lesson and pass it on to the next generation of firefighters so they remember it and they don't forget it and they understand what happened, and again, the job that those guys had to do on that day. As far as being an instructor, it's part of my teachings. It's part of the things that I try to pass along to the new generation of firefighters.
It's knowing that I'm out serving my community. When I went to college at Bethune-Cookman University, it was enter to learn, depart to serve. So I feel like that I'm fulfilling that need. I'm serving my community and those that are in need and in help. Those that may just want a conversation, and those are the things that I'm here doing today.
If I want people who I've helped in my career, when they think back to those sad memories or those stressful days or those worst days, I want there to be that little bit of that little bright spot of like, that was a really terrible day, but I remember how much that paramedic Bracewell or firefighter Bracewell, I remember how much they helped and how they took what was a hopeless day into a bad day that still had that little bit of hope and that little bit of a bright light.
I want, whenever I leave the fire service, for the guys that I was leading, I want them to always look back and say that I led with purpose, I was driven, I led with passion, and that above and beyond anything else that we had each other's backs.
This renewed interest in the fire department, that was gratifying. It was gratifying to have a perfect stranger come up and just thank you for your service. We had people buy meals for us, stuff like that. But I would like to think I left it better than I found it. And that's the way I left. I think I left as Michael Jordan left at the top of his game. I was at the top of my game. That's what I think. And I hope I made a difference.